From our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. tonight, USL Super League action sees D.C. Power FC play host to Fort Lauderdale United FC. It is D.C. Power's first ever USL Super League home game, and we are thrilled to bring this one to you on Peacock. Sean St. Jacques, Casey White, here with you tonight. We look at the standings in the USL Super League in the early stages. Both teams also have a chance to make history tonight by picking up their respective clubs' first ever victory in franchise history. So it promises to be a thrilling night in the USL Super League. And Casey, we look at the last few games for DC Power in their early days in the USL Super League. Still looking for that first win, but they bounced back nicely after an early defeat.
They really did. Early on in the season, they're a team that's at least proving to be hard to beat. They've scrapped and they've stayed in games, even though it hasn't gone perfectly their way. But of course, a team that is still looking and hungry for that first win in the first 3 points of their season.
Their big early highlight in this season was Jorian Bockham scoring the club's first ever goal in a 1-1 draw against Dallas.
And she's a player that is going to be essential for them going forward. She's extremely powerful, loves to make penetrating runs in behind, incredibly dangerous when she does that, but equally also can play back to goal and link play. And in addition, she can really do it all. Defends from the front, causes back lines to have a really hard time playing out.
Certainly excited to see what she has up her sleeve tonight. For Fort Lauderdale United, they're also looking for their first ever club win, a loss in a draw so far for them this season.
And Fort Lauderdale United FC loves to possess. They want the ball as often as possible, and they want to be able to generate a lot of creative chances going forward in that final third. The efficiency is going to be what they're looking for this evening.
Fort Lauderdale United also brings some star power with them to Washington, D.C. tonight. Felicia Knox, who's just been wonderful to watch.
She's good on both sides of the ball, but what really sets her apart is her ability to create, to set tempo, and to feed the players of the front line for Fort Lauderdale.
We're excited to bring this one to you from Audi Field in Washington, D.C. It is history for D.C. Power Football Club tonight. They play their first home fixture, and both teams are looking for their first ever wins in franchise history. The kickoff is coming up from Washington, D.C. next on Peacock.
New flavors, the same traditions. Be the guest of honor. Add more flavor to your parties. El Jimador, spiked bebidas.
This is the beginning. This is a first practice, a first video session, a first pregame talk. This is a first ticket, a first scarf raise, a first kickoff. This is a tapestry of clubs and players and communities inspired by those who blazed the trail for women's sports, ready to inspire the next generation. We are the USL Super League. We're part of a movement, and this is our moment.
We all have goals. But let's be honest, most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
The two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why.
Yeah, I said what I said. I don't care, I paint the town red.
If you can survive this, it's going to make the whole story that much better.
The bright horses are broken free from the fields.
Moments away from kickoff at Audi Field in Washington, D.C. The first home match for D.C. Power FC in their USL Super League inaugural season. They're taking on Fort Lauderdale United FC here on Peacock. Sean St. Jacques, Casey White here with you. The first lineup we look at is DC's under Frederic Briand.
And they'll come out in a 4-1-4-1 with a single pivot of Jennifer Cujo, a player that's a ball winner in midfield, can also distribute really well. And then you've got the front three as well. Joining Jorian Bakum is Yango and Giyu. Very good players looking to go in behind and trying to generate a lot going forward.
Quite a bit of star power for this DC Power FC side, looking for their first ever victory as a club in their first home game as a club as well. And we're excited to see the attacking options that they have to offer. Tyrone Mears has this starting 11 for Fort Lauderdale United FC. It also has a ton of attacking talent, but also a very strong midfield.
And one of the things they'll like to do is put their outside backs forward. Look for Brooks and Jordan to join the attack so they get more players up the field. Raji and Kamani will join Felicia Knox in midfield, a very creative, technical midfield. And then 1v1 isolation is the name of the game for Gordon and Hamid, as Addie McCain will be in that center forward role, play a little bit more back to goal, very technical presence. So a lot of creativity in this lineup for Fort Lauderdale.
Plans to be a really special evening tonight at our nation's capital. We look at both coaches here. Frederic Briand, special night for him. We talked to him, I should say, earlier this week, and he's a former DC United player. He's a former DC United assistant coach as well. He told us how special it is to lead his team out on a night like this, making history in the women's game.
Absolutely, and once you live in a certain area and wear a crest of a certain team in that area, it's always very special, so good to see him back.
Tyrone Mears as well, plenty of experience in the game as well. You can see there an MLS Cup champion with the Seattle Sounders, an English League standout, and an MLS standout as a player.
Well, it's incredible to have that type of leadership for these women and someone who's been there, who's won at the highest level, and bring that experience, those intangibles, to what he can do on the field with this group.
Played for the likes of Man City as a youth player, West Ham, Marseille, Burnley, the list goes on for the experience he brings to the Fort Lauderdale table. It's a unique night, nights like this. Your first home game, but it's really your first home game as a franchise. There's going to be some butterflies. There's going to be some expectation. What are you expecting to see in the early stages here, Casey?
Well, I think you make a good point, not only because there's the emotion and adrenaline of playing in your first home game, but it's so early on in the season. The consistency across 90 minutes for all these Super League clubs is what's really important, and it's kind of the theme of what a lot of the head coaches are talking about. We've had great moments, but can it be consistent? And so early on, both of these teams looking to see who can settle in first could be the difference.
There's also going to be a little bit of an unknown, right? These two teams have never faced each other in this kind of a setting before. That's also going to be intriguing, especially from a neutral's point of view tonight.
It is, and as a coach, you have to get into the mind of them of, well, then let's focus on ourselves. We're not going to have as much scouting information as we would like this early on, so let's identify our principles and stick with our identity and make it as good as we can.
Looks like we're just about set to go here. Rebecca Pagan is our center official tonight here at Audi Field. It will be Fort Lauderdale United kicking us off, and they'll be going from right to left in their road whites here on Peacock as this first ever home match for DC Power is off and running. So much history's already been made for the USL Super League in these opening weeks of this inaugural season. Another night of it here this evening. Sean St. Jacques, Casey White, we're thrilled to be part of it with you. We hope you're excited, and just as excited, of course, as we are to bring it to you. Great crowd as well. Fans still filing in as well here at Audi Field in Washington, D.C. Not just the first ever home game, of course, is part of the history. Both clubs have a chance to win their first ever USL Super League game tonight. So plenty to play for in this early season matchup. Early touch there for Anele Komani. Settle things down in the Fort Lauderdale midfield. Near side Cameron Brooks. Komani picks her head up. It's good interplay here. Felicia Knox gets onto it. 4 chances created so far, and an assist as well. Fort Lauderdale's first ever club assist.
As we can already tell, the identity of Fort Lauderdale in talking to their staff is they want to possess. They want more passes than the other team. Seems simple enough, but it's not. And they want to keep the balls. We see them under pressure dealing with it. And so what DC Power is looking to do is try to just keep them a little further back so their possession is in their own defensive half.
It's Grace Yango initially winning the ball back for DC Power. Knox moving it ahead. She's always going to be active. Lovely little ball through the middle. Gordon takes on an early attempt. It's going to go wide of the target. Looks like it's going to be a goal kick.
And it was Felicia Knox in the wide space, just battling between two defenders right here. It falls to Addie McCain. Does well to find Shania Gordon on this strike, just a little bit wide and almost played right there by Aquino, but it does go out first.
Shania Gordon played at West Virginia University, also has UEFA Women's Champions League experience under her belt with CSKA Moscow in her past. One of many players between these two sides that have really impressive experience that they're bringing to the USL Super League. No questions about that. And DC look to bring it forward. This near side has a chance to maybe thread it through initially. It was Susanna Fredericks, and passes picked off in the end. Fort Lauderdale retained the possession, knocks out wide. It's gonna, in the end, force Jordan a little bit further back, but Fort Lauderdale holds on to the ball. Good pressure high up the field by Jorian Bockham.
Well, and that's something that Jorian Bockham brings. You can talk about all the attacking pieces of her game that are so efficient, but she loves to press from the front. That's how she was rewarded with her goal, was the entire team pressing from the front, and they were the recipient of that going forward. So that's a big part of each of these teams, how they can try and press early and try to force some mistakes.
We had a great conversation with Frederic Briand, the DC coach, earlier this week. He's really pleased with the way the team has started this season. He says, listen, winning's a process. He says, if we can keep improving, keep getting better. He says our goal is to be in it at the end and try to win a championship and make history. You can hear so many players and coaches already talking about that being a massive goal and having to build towards that and go through the proper steps of the process. And handling nights like tonight goes along in part of that process.
Well, coaching is so incredibly difficult. Obviously, there's the obvious reasons of...
Oh, a possible giveaway here. Bockham tries to round the goalkeeper, and it's well read by Cosette Morsch to snuff it out.
And that's the pressing from the front right there. Fort Lauderdale loves to possess. They're comfortable on the ball, but Kamani just isn't accurate with that pass to Vaca, and Bockham sets in. She's so powerful, so strong, almost gets that touch around the goalkeeper, just not quite able to. But when we're talking about the coaching piece of everything, yes, the tactics are important. Yes, all of those pieces are going to help you move towards the championship, but also how to manage a season. The ups and downs, the starting off, who comes to form at the right time. That's really the art of coaching, and it can be incredibly difficult.
If there's anything we've learned about the USL over the years, we just never quite know what's going to happen. Wouldn't be surprised if we had twists and turns in the USL Super League as well as the season moved along. City of Gaynor, good pressure, I should say good possession back and forth. Tanya Raji also getting involved in that Fort Lauderdale midfield. This is what Tyrone Mears wants to see, building up from the back in possession and then trying to create. Frederic Briand will be happy that they were able to snuff that out, and they quickly regained possession for DC Power.
And that's exactly what you wrote right there. When you're in a mid-block defensively, you want them to pass around the back, but then as soon as it's played into the midfield third, you go and snuff it out, you try to put pressure, and then you're rewarded with possession like we're seeing now.
Back to Morgan Aquino, the Australian international, formerly of Perth Glory, her native country. It's a lovely ball played down this near side. It could open up here for Grace Yango for DC Power. Bockham's in the middle and tried a little backheel flick. It's not cleared yet from Fort Lauderdale, and now it is sent out of the penalty area. Yuka Kurosaki tried to follow up. It nearly fell kindly for her inside the 18. Bockham's pressure. Morsch has a couple of outlets to this near side. Last time out for DC Power, we highlighted it earlier, a 1-1 draw at Dallas. As it's a nice ball helped along. Bachem lets it go and hits the post. Yango on the rebound. It's touched away from her. And it's a throw-in for the Power on the near side. Bachem nearly scoring her second career goal in the Super League.
It's a small little detail, but we'll see as Yango goes in here. When Bachem gets this ball, she just sees that there's space on the left side. She's not going for power. She sees an opening for placement. It is a very good decision by her. She has it on the right foot and just isn't able to curl it around, doesn't put any bend on it, but a really good finishing decision by Bachem.
It's a lovely little ball helped along to get it to Bachem.
Agreed.
As well. Can Fort Lauderdale maybe create something in transition here? Jasmine Hamid is actually making a bit of a homecoming from Alexandria in Virginia, not far away from our Townsend University product. She was brought down. Fort Lauderdale keep possession. And then Hamid wins a free kick. That's a different kind of pressure, coming back to near where you grew up to play a professional game.
But also kind of fun at the same time, right?
For sure.
Like a little bit of home.
If she wasn't motivated already, there's extra bit of added on motivation to make an impact. Fort Lauderdale have a set piece to work with here, and it's in good position when we put this inside the penalty area. He's put into a pretty dangerous spot just over the head of Veni Vaca. Great ball back across, and Fort Lauderdale score! That was a laser beam of a cross back into the middle. Addison McCain opens the scoring for Fort Lauderdale United, and the visitors jump out in front.
What's really nice to see from this is the organization off the initial service. Knox plays this. It goes a little bit long, but the outside back Brooks is rotated up right where she should be, puts it across frame with pace, and right there just gets something on it. It's just a leg in that moment from Addie McCain, but when you have this much pace on a service, you just need to make sure to run through the ball and get it on frame, and it can cause problems.
Oh, what a start. Had to absorb some early pressure. But it's McCain's moment in the nation's capital, and it's her second Super League goal of the season. I believe that for now puts her first in the Golden Boot early race, but more importantly, it puts Fort Lauderdale United ahead. And DC look to find an immediate response. Kurosaki plays it across. Bachem on the turn, beg your pardon, it's still a chance. Now it's Bachem on the turn. Kurosaki sends it over the top. More great build-up play. Was actually Katrina Guiu in the middle of it, then Bachem, and a missed opportunity for Kurosaki.
And DC Power were going after it. You can tell there was that passion after giving up that goal to go forward, and they really did score that goal against the run of play. Yes, Fort Lauderdale had the possession, but it was in their own defending half, so they didn't have a lot going forward into the final third, but good teams will figure out how to punish you when you get those opportunities for set pieces, and that's what they've done.
Initially sent ahead by Raji, that's a giveaway. Nice Yango. Trying to keep it on this near side. Great job winning it back by McCain. Well, this is one of the pros of having a possession-based system. When you score, it makes it even easier to hold on to a lead and potentially then build from there. A foundation built in possession could be a really fruitful one.
You can definitely feel that Fort Lauderdale wants to keep the ball. They're comfortable in possession. DC Power is defending in a 4-4-2, and so it's really hard for Fort Lauderdale to find their center mids. They did it well right there, but that's really the first time they've connected and then still dispossessed in the final third because of the pressure.
Guiu out wide. Bachem picks it up. Bachem cutting in field. A lot of traffic there. Felicia Knox steps in. Katie Duong wins a throw-in for DC on the far side. Another turnover. Let's see what DC can do with this. Fredericks. Infield it goes. This marauding run forward here. This is Cujo. Cujo picks her head up. Lovely ball square. Yango plays it across. It's still not done yet. Guiu tries to follow up. Fort Lauderdale will eventually get it further upfield, but DC still has possession.
And this game has a really nice pace to it. You can see the regain mentality. Once DC loses the ball, they are on it immediately to go forward again and win it.
Kurosaki, that was a good idea, just couldn't quite continue the run with the ball, and Fort Lauderdale retrieved the possession. Vaca. Again, resets for another build forward. Kaynor and company. Almost in a way playing the point guard position from here, directing traffic to find the next pass to play.
And Power FC have definitely decided to play in this middle block, try to just win possession in the middle third or force a turnover like that. It's almost a bit unfortunate that they gave up the set piece goal from their point of view, because their defending efforts have actually been really good, and in transition, they've really gotten forward quickly. So it's a good start, and Fort Lauderdale has to be happy to be able to get that goal on the opposite side while they're seeing all this pressure.
Last time out for Fort Lauderdale United, a 2-1 defeat against Carolina. It's back on September 6th. Again, it would be a huge moment for either side to get a victory tonight. It'd be history for the respective club who's able to get the 3 points. And of course, in the early season, it'd be a huge 3 points in the table as well. And Fort Lauderdale come forward again here on the far side. It's a good cutback. McCain's in the middle. Lovely give and go. It could open up here for Fort Lauderdale. The cross into the middle is touched away by Fredericks.
And we talked about it earlier, the outside backs of Fort Lauderdale looking to get forward. The two best chances are the goal that Brooks played back across, and that one was Jordan on the opposite side.
Bockham leads the DC Power attack up the other way. Bockham tries to continue on. 2 challenges coming in, forces her to go back, and then she wins a free kick.
And when Bockham gets the ball, she wants to go right at you and isolate you in the 1v1. Trips up a little bit there. They do enough to stop her, but eventually Kamani is called for this foul. There's a little tug on the shirt, and then eventually the foul is called. But this is from a very similar position that we saw Fort Lauderdale have with the goal that they ended up scoring on.
USL Super League is kicking off its inaugural Division I professional women's soccer league in August, featuring 8 teams located throughout the country. Watch all the Super League games and historic firsts airing exclusively on NBC's Peacock Network. Of course, this game fits the perfect description of that on many fronts. Could have quite a few firsts tonight, not just the DC first home opener. Set piece here. DC Power, it's well placed into the middle. Grace Yango picks it up. Opportunity for the shot, and it's bent just wide. Madison Wolfbauer taking aim. It's out for a goal kick. Addison McCain scored the first ever Fort Lauderdale United goal in club history. He's added another one on tonight. That's the difference so far. Fort Lauderdale have the lead here in Washington, D.C.
Well, it's a bit of a different type of environment for Addison McCain. I've watched a lot of her career from a youth player with FC Dallas in that area through her college career. She's very technical. She was at A&M. She was kind of a attacking midfielder personality, definitely can score goals. Usually it's not those kind of dirty goals where you just get a touch on it or things like that, but I like to see that she's been able to layer that into her game, and she's just a very well-rounded player for this Fort Lauderdale team.
It was played down the line on the far side. It is going to be a free kick for DC. Well, the referee will have a word here about stopping a potential quick restart on a free kick. That's something the referees in every league are really starting to clamp down on. Wolfbauer. Lovely ball over to the far side to switch the point of attack. Decent threaded ball down the line. It bounces into the path of Bacum. Bacum resets. Katie Duong will be forced to recycle the possession.
One of the things we're seeing out of the Power FC is that they're building out of a 3-back, so they're getting Madison Murden really high like an outside midfielder. You can tell that they want to play make in that outside space, so they're transitioning from 4 in the back to 3 in the back when they do have possession. We just haven't seen a lot of that because Fort Lauderdale United has done really well to possess the ball, and it's been more of a transitional game for DC.
Guillou leading pressure there. We had a chance to catch up with Katrina Guillou earlier this week as well. And she was talking us through how, not just on the field, but off the field, the team is really gelling at the start of this season. There's great chemistry in the group. There's even at times where players are calling or texting each other, trying to get together for dinners and going to different events around town and things of that nature. And the fact that that's happening already is a really good sign for DC's season moving forward.
I think so. Culture is everything. Culture on the field, culture off the field. You have to figure out what works for your group, and that can definitely help.
One of the other things that she mentioned, you'll probably hear this from many people throughout the early parts of the season, glimpses. There's been good glimpses from the DC Power side. Both Frederique Briand and her said that as well. It's about putting together a full 90 minutes. Every team is going to be working on that as the days and weeks move along.
Exactly, but I think the first 20 minutes or so of this game has had a really good pace to it. You're still figuring out how to play in each of the thirds, in possession, out of possession. All those things will come, but you can see the technical ability of the group, the passion to win the ball back, the transition of both of these teams. I think this has started off as a really good level in this game.
Here's Fredericks. For Wolfbauer as DC plan out their next attack. There's time and space here on the far side for the Power to work with. The pass in the end intended for Duong is cut out, and Fort Lauderdale get a chance to go up the other end after they retain the possession. Brooks for Vaca. You can see there as well, you saw the early good moments from DC. They've had 11 final third entries. Fort Lauderdale with 5, and obviously took their chance. Being clinical in moments like this are also of paramount importance.
It is, and that's how Dorian Bacum did score their goal against Dallas Trinity, was a turnover in possession off their press. And when we were talking to the Fort Lauderdale coaching staff this week, they knew that their defense would be very organized, and so they'd have to figure out how to build in certain gaps. And you can tell they're trying to figure that out as we see the foul in the middle third.
Of course, Fort Lauderdale still have their home opener to look forward to later on this month. September 29th is when they'll finally get a chance to open things up. They're in the middle of a 4-game road trip, of course, to begin their USL Super League season. They're trying to turn down this near side, but Katie Duong would not allow it to happen. It's a free kick.
But I like that from Katie Duong right there, because if you don't end up fouling, you're dispossessing a team in a really dangerous area. So it's worth the risk. It's away from your goal. More than likely, Fort Lauderdale is just going to get it and play quickly, not play long. So I think it's a risk worth taking.
One that maybe gets fouled under tactical foul in the end, maybe?
Maybe,
Borderline.
maybe. Yeah, you're stretching it a little bit there, Sean, but I do see what you're saying, for sure.
Brooks up ahead. Lovely little flick ahead, and Fort Lauderdale could have a chance to move this forward, but Gordon has her attempt knocked away. Now Jordan tries to play it down the line. Gordon had continued her run. Again, the pass is cut out by Guiu. Bacum with a lovely little dummy to turn into space, and DC Power could have an opportunity here. It's still Bacum, and then she just places it wide of the target. And it's a goal kick.
It's an incredibly exciting play from Bacum, very creative. She loves to play off this left side, draw a center back out. She does that exactly in this moment, but then a lot of players coming. It takes 2-3 players to not allow her to have a shot on frame. So something that Fort Lauderdale is gonna have to be careful of if they're gonna be dispossessed in that middle third is where is she on the field and how do we keep her from getting the ball? I don't know if that's possible because she's all over the place, but something they're gonna have to be aware of.
It did feel like that Fort Lauderdale United also were able to close down a possible cross into the middle there with a late arriving run from Kurosaki in the cards there as well.
They did well in that moment. Baka had to come over and just slow the run of Bacum down, make her put her head down, look to make a decision, and then Jordan was retreating after getting beat in that wide area to come back. So they did a good job in that recovery transition moment defensively.
Another good tussle in the midfield, and McCain wins the ball for Fort Lauderdale United. The tackle comes in from Jennifer Cujo. It is out for a Fort Lauderdale throw. Handball appeals come in. It is given by the referee. And that attack from Fort Lauderdale fizzles out in the end. There is, of course, one other game tonight in the USL Super League. Dallas Trinity will be hosting Lexington. That game is about to kick off. It's also streaming for you here on Peacock. Oh, lovely little running skill there. Kurosaki moving into the midfield. Time and space here again for DC Power to work with. Kurosaki, it's a lovely little give and go attempt, but it was cut out. And Duong resets for the hosts. Fredericks back down this near side. Tried to pick out Grace Yango. Brooks, he's gonna let this go out for a goal kick. Select, the official match ball supplier of the USL Super League and many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit us.select-sport.com for the latest Select products, specials, and more. Select is the player's choice. Japanese international Yuka Kurosaki. Lovely little bit of skill from her there to set up that last attempt from DC Power, but not able to get the finishing touch in the end.
It's really deceptive from her because you can see at the last moment just getting that little touch when a defender is committed to stepping. It's deceptive because she's not making a big motion about it. She just gets there, takes a little touch around. So love seeing that technique from her and the partnership she develops with Bacum.
Here is Bockham going back to work. Cutting back into space and assessing the situation for DC Power. She's forced to give it up, although quickly gets it back. And is going to deflect out of play. It'll stay with DC for a throw. Was that a foul? Yes. Referee does halt it there. I think that was Gordon who put in the challenge. Another opportunity for DC to provide some service inside the penalty area. DC Power have multiple options here. They could play it short. They could try to put this into the 18 in search of a first half equalizer. Some advice from Jennifer Cujo as to where maybe to place this. Katie Duong to take. It's a searching ball into the penalty area, and Morsh is able to get there first.
That's good hands by Morsh in that moment, because you let that drop. There's players all around you. It's a decent service because it's not too far in. It really does encourage a goalkeeper to have a big range there, and Morsh does in that moment.
Wolfbauer does well to win it back and win a free kick under pressure from McCain, the goal scorer. Played down the line for Kurosaki to chase. Morsh has to come off her line. Hits it back off of Kurosaki. It is going to be a goal kick.
What's really interesting about this game, which I think is smart game plan from the DC Power, is they don't want a Felicia Knox to get on the ball, and Addison McCain, and Shania Gordon, and Hamid. Those front four players, as we take a look back at this one, Morsh is going to clear it. Just a lot of pressure on here from Kurosaki, and it does go out, and she'll get tended to here. But I think they're really smart to be playing in that organized shape defensively, because those four players are interchangeable. They create a lot going forward. So they're almost saying, yes, okay, we are down a goal, but let's let the back line and the holding mids create for Fort Lauderdale, because then we're not chasing towards our own goal, and maybe we'll be able to dispossess and create something going forward.
And besides the McCain goal, they've done a pretty good job of mitigating those players.
They really have, and that was off a set piece, right?
Yeah.
So they just had a moment lapse there where maybe the marking wasn't tight enough, and just the organization defensively. But from their defensive shape, I think it's been incredibly effective in the run of play.
Lovely little flick here. Again, it could open up a chance inside the penalty area. Looks like there may have been a little push in the back. Guioli's going to be penalized there. It is going to be a free kick for the visitors in the end. Trina Guiu is getting more and more involved as the half moves along for DC Power. Pressure there nearly leads to a takeaway. Referee says it's a free kick.
That's the moment right there. They want the pressure to be there so they don't have an ability to break lines going forward. It might have not been Cujo that came in there. It might have been from behind the foul that was called, because the last part of it looked pretty clean.
Vaca, former BYU standout, collegiate days. Sends it over to this far side. Gaynor. Is that a foul? No, says the referee. Fort Lauderdale have to continue on here. More DC pressure. It's been relentless in this sequence. Give Fort Lauderdale credit. They nearly played through it perfectly, although they do have to settle for a goal kick.
And you could see just a few moments ago, Addison McCain and Felicia Knox standing behind the pressure of Cujo in midfield, Duong, and they just can't find that gap to find their feet. If they could, there'd be a lot of numbers going forward for Fort Lauderdale, but you've got to love the commitment and the press from DC Power.
Cosette Morsch might need some attending to here. The goalkeeper for Fort Lauderdale went down after that sequence was over. It does give both teams a brief timeout to reset here, especially for DC, trying to recover from that early goal from Addison McCain, her second of the season. Fort Lauderdale have found their goal. They've been having to deal with the DC power pressure. We talked about DC's impact on the game so far. How do you feel Fort Lauderdale have handled the occasion so far?
I think they've done pretty well. They talk about their principles. They want to outpossess. Now, can they break lines with that possession? Hey, they'll take the attacking set piece and the goal and where they're at, but they're going to have to manage those transition moments and the organized shape of DC power. So if I'm talking to the Fort Lauderdale United players, it's, hey, stay controlled, don't force anything, but also, can we look to go forward under control? Find Addison McCain's feet, find Felicia Knox's feet. Easier said than done with the way that they're organized defensively, though.
Of course, the stars like Jorian Backham and Ika Kurosaki for DC have been as advertised. There's been some wonderful build-up play, interplay as well in and around the penalty area. Katrina Guillou has also shined at times for DC Power, just about getting that finishing touch. And to your point, also easier said than done against the Fort Lauderdale defense that has stood tall so far.
And they have recovered quickly. Centrally, you want to narrow in front of the goal, make sure that anything you do give up, it's easily savable if possible if it gets to Morsch. But I do like the way that Fort Lauderdale is playing around the back. You can tell that they've been given the confidence by their head coach, Tyrone Mears, to be able to possess. But what you don't want to do is make a silly mistake. So when you're taking those chances, make sure that you've got cover if it were to go wrong.
Well, the medical staff for Fort Lauderdale United is continuing to look at Cosette Morsch here. McKenna Gottschalk is the backup goalkeeper if it does get to the point where Fort Lauderdale have to make a change here. It's been a pretty extended evaluation just off camera. And now Morsch is able to get back up onto her feet and gets a nice hand here from the Audi Field faithful.
Well, there was that collision that happened just a couple minutes ago with the pressure of the DC front line. So perhaps there was something that happened in that moment because she definitely needs a bit of help to get off the field.
Gottschalk on cue is getting warmed up in case her number is called towards the end of the first half here. About 10 minutes plus stoppage time to go. We have been told that it looks like that change is going to happen. So that is tough for Cosette Morsch, who had a solid first half, and a tough way for her night to end, but we do get a look at McKenna Gottschalk, and Tyrone Mears and company are going to have to make a late first half adjustment here.
And this can be really tough, but it's also what you're prepared for as a backup keeper coming into the game. If you're her back line, since you're a possession-oriented team, get her a touch early. Get her that second touch, that first pass, get her into the game, so then she just feels like she's more into it and ready to go.
There's the confirmation of the change. Gottschalk is on. We hope that Morsch is okay moving forward for Fort Lauderdale United. Is it one of those things as well for DC Power also to think, let's test her as well, try to get her as many touches on it in that kind of a sense as well?
100%. If I'm a player on DC, I am getting a touch and I'm getting a shot on frame. Even if it's not the perfect shot, I'm doing it as quickly as possible. See if you can catch her off guard. If you don't score, force a save or a rebound, and then try and get an opportunity there.
More pressure from Cujo and company. It does lead to a turnover. Header back into the penalty area was helped along, and the first touch from McKenna Gottschalk. Tough collision there on the near side. Cujo got the worst of that for DC Power. And She stays down to recover here. Frederic Briand just giving his 2 cents to the fourth official about that last coming together. We're going to play on. It's going to be a throw-in. You think he's into it or what?
Maybe a little bit. I like that. I think as a player, you like seeing that from your coach as well. Like, they're in it with you every step of the way.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. DC United, former player and assistant coach, so the night means as much to him as it does to just about anybody involved in this fixture tonight. Aquino will reset after the ball ricocheted into her path. DC will get a chance to build out from the back. Pass goes out of play, goes right back to Fort Lauderdale, although DC Power not convinced by the referee's decision. They do have to get on with it though. Fort Lauderdale quickly get it back into play. In the end, it's Stuong and company that do move it in the right direction from a DC perspective. Backham isn't quite able to get on the end of that final pass. Up ahead from Brooks. It's touched in behind here. Hamid gets in for Fort Lauderdale. Big chance, and she scores! What a return! Jasmine Hamid scores for Fort Lauderdale, and the visitors double their delight. It's 2-0.
And again, this is a game that's all about moments. They're pressing in this wide channel. They give the outside space, and deciding to go long in this one was Brooks. It's flicked on by Wolfbauer, who's unable to clear. It's the first touch that makes everything for Hamid. Her first touch goes right on a diagonal to goal, decides to roof it on the near post. That's not the normal decision there, because you normally want to look far post, but she does a great job with it, and it catches Aquino off guard.
The Alexandria, Virginia native returns to the DMV and scores for Fort Lauderdale. What a moment for her. And what a moment for Fort Lauderdale. They're 2-0 up. McCain and Hamid both with their second goals of the season in this first half, and DC now have a bit of a hill to climb.
They do, but this is a really fascinating first half, in my opinion, just from a tactical perspective, because Fort Lauderdale hasn't created as much opportunities in their final third, but when they have, they've been absolutely efficient, on point, and gotten the 2 goals, where DC Power has done a lot of things really well. They just haven't been able to finish. Fort
Lauderdale come forward again. Maybe a chance to cross this into the middle. The shot is stopped by Aquino. Free kick as Fort Lauderdale continues to build the momentum, and a yellow card comes out for the challenge. Katie Duong is the player who's been booked, and we revisit the challenge.
It's just a late challenge right there, getting a touch in that moment to avoid pressure. Duong comes in late, so that's a pretty clear yellow card.
The first booking of the night for either side. Final few minutes plus stoppage time. Could be a decent chunk of stoppage time because of the Morsch injury earlier. From the set piece, that was floated in towards Gaynor. It's not going to quite get towards her, and DC Power clear. Raji down this near side. It did go out of play, not quite able to be kept in by Brooks. And it goes back to the hosts. talked about being clinical and taking advantage of the opportunities you've been presented with, and Fort Lauderdale United has done that to a T in this first half.
And the transition game has really gone their way, and that was something that Briant talked about, was dealing with the transition, because they have a good organized shape defensively, but there's those 1v1 battles that happen, and the isolation 1v1 of the Fort Lauderdale wingers is really difficult to deal with, and we saw it in that moment with Hamid.
Vaca. Brooks on the near side, able to get past a challenge. Gottschalk, under some pressure, handles it really well. Outlets to the far side. More pressure from Guillou. Fort Lauderdale have to try to work their way through it. Guillou continues to put the pressure on. He does really well, wins a throw-in high up the field. Saki ran out of space. Good hustle for DC to win that back. Duong, although the foul is going to be given on the back end. It's a Fort Lauderdale free kick in the end.
And I know that DC Power fans are not happy, but that's actually a really good call by our center official. Just shows her experience. Addison McCain gets her body in front and just shields a little bit. So the aggression of DC Power really good. You're going to get away with it sometimes, but not in that moment.
It was a good hustle moment from Madison Mernon, just didn't quite get the decision.
Exactly.
Again, Fort Lauderdale in possession, looking sharper as the half moves along, and that's saying something. Back for Gottschalk, and again, for those just tuning in, Rosette Morse left with an injury about 7-8 minutes ago, so he's going to be McKenna Gottschalk the rest of the way for Fort Lauderdale United. This ball played up ahead. Hamid tried to cross it into the middle, blocked off by Wolfbauer. Hamid resets. Accelerate pass for Raji. Hamid again to the far side. Jordan into the middle. Really good ball. That was a chance in the end for Shania Gordon. It goes over the top and out.
And DC Power is going to have to track their runners in the penalty area. 3 players were in there with only 2 defenders on that cross. It does go near post, and Gordon's not able to connect. But certainly a third goal would put this away. This ball goes in right there. Look at Felicia Knox, wide open in the middle space, and then a back post runner as well. But better build-up by Fort Lauderdale United, getting into that final third in possession.
We are into 5 added minutes at the end of the half. Still time for DC Power to get a foothold into the match as far as the score sheet is concerned. Get some late first half momentum. Well, that ball is going to go out of play on the far side. Can't watch the match? Turn on Sirius XM-FC 157, North America's only 24/7 source for engaging soccer talk, including live matches from the USL Super League. Visit uslsuperleague.com/SiriusXM to view the schedule. Goals from McCain and Hamid have Fort Lauderdale, for now at least, in control, as halftime is close to beckoning here in DC. And both teams in search of the club's first ever win in their respective franchises' histories. Mernon moves it ahead for DC Power. And some time and space to work with on the far side. Guillou plays it infield. Lovely winning of the ball back, I should say, by Felicia Knox. Pinballs around a bit. Brooks on the near side under pressure. Gango leading the press, but again, Fort Lauderdale play their way through.
You can start to see more gaps opening up for Fort Lauderdale United, because when you're down 2 goals, there's a little bit more desperation to be able to step and win balls. And DC Power is still doing it well as the foul's called on McCain, but now you're seeing those gaps open up a little bit more if your timing's just maybe a second off.
We do have an update from the other Super League game going on right now. A goal for Lexington at Dallas Trinity. So they have a 1-0 lead. They're approaching the 20th minute in the Lone Star State. DC with a free kick. Another searching ball. It is headed back out. It'll be recycled by Merning. Sent down the far side for Guiu. It's another good defensive intervention, that time by Jordan. Goes back out for a DC throw. Knox. Of course, was a 2022 All-American at Alabama. Had a wonderful collegiate career there and has continued that in her pro exploits.
And as much as that's not what Fort Lauderdale United normally looks to do, they try to possess even off a throw-in. At this point in a half, you don't want anything to cut into the lead. They've worked really hard to get 2-0, so they give over possession, but it's at least on the other end. You're trying to see out the half. I think there's smart moments like that it's encouraging to see early on in the season from a team.
And final minute of a minimum of 5 added on at the end of the half. It's Kurosaki trying to scoop the ball forward. Again, it's cut out. And Fort Lauderdale will create one more opportunity before the first half comes to a close. They will get a throw-in to work with on the near side after the challenge from the captain, Fredericks. Cameron Brooks to take. Into the penalty area, comes right back out. Fort Lauderdale again do have a throw. Oh, they look comfortable going into the half, I think, at this point with their 2-0 lead. It's their time for one more opportunity. Brooks tried to find McCain, and the half ends there here in DC. Well, it is DC Power's first home game, but it's been Fort Lauderdale's night so far in the first 45 minutes. Goals from McCain and Hamid have led the way, and the possession-based style so far is winning out for Fort Lauderdale United. Of course, there's still a big 45 minutes to play out.
It's been a really patient approach from Fort Lauderdale United. I think we've been treated with a really good first half, a really high pace of play, a lot of transition moments, but still some patience. So that speed of play is going to continue to help Fort Lauderdale United make the DC Power team chase a little bit, because they're going to have to chase and just create things forward in their attacking third to try to get opportunities.
Be interesting to see how it plays out in the second half, a contrast of styles, but it's Fort Lauderdale's style of play that's winning out so far tonight on this historic night in DC Power's home opener. Goals from Hamid and McCain leading the way. Fort Lauderdale have a 2-0 lead at the break. Of course, there's still a big second half to come. We'll have plenty to come after the break here in DC.
This is the beginning. This is a first practice, a first video session, a first pregame talk. This is a first ticket, a first scarf raise, a first kickoff. This is a tapestry of clubs and players and communities inspired by those who blazed the trail for women's sports, ready to inspire the next generation.
Ready for the
We are the USL Super League. We're part of a movement, and this is our moment.
When mosquitoes show up, so do we. Terminix it.
Pain doesn't care who you are or why you hurt, but pain can be mastered if you know the way. Fight back with Tiger Balm's legendary herbal power. Trusted for over 100 years, our proven blend of camphor, menthol, and essential oils tames pain with the strength and speed of the tiger, so that you can rise above pain and get back to living. This is the way of the tiger.
We all have goals. But let's be honest, most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
The two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why.
Yeah, trick. I said what I said. I don't care. I paint the town red.
If you can survive this, it's going to make the whole story that much better.
The bright horses are broken free from the fields.
New flavors. The same traditions. Be the guest of honor. Add more flavor to your parties. El Jimador. Spiked bebidas.
Is it somebody's birthday? Dad, come watch us hit this ugly piñata. Dad!
When Hornets show up, so do we. Terminix it.
Shot St. Jacques, Casey White back here with you at the half. There are some celebrities taking this one in. Francis Tiafoe coming off his semifinal finish at the U.S. Open tennis tournament in New York City. He's a Maryland native, taking in the scenes here in the DC Power home opener in the USL Super League. News and notes from around the Super League. Of course, the Carolina ascent beginning to this season. 2 victories and 1 draw. They stay unbeaten so far. And the first point for Brooklyn FC was also a big storyline, getting a draw against Spokane last weekend. But how about a first road win? Tampa Bay looked really impressive at Lexington last weekend.
They did. They started off really strong. They went up early in the game. Lexington tried to launch that comeback, getting 2 goals, but Tampa Bay Sun did secure it 3-2.
Really impressive start from them, and one of the pace setters right now, along with Carolina, at the start of this USL Super League season. Looking around the league and continuing here, Lexington playing on the road tonight at Dallas. We told you a little bit about this earlier. They have a 1-0 lead. Of course, we'll see Tampa Bay play Brooklyn tomorrow, also on Peacock.
And Brooklyn's going to be looking for that first win. We're saying that a lot with some of these teams because there's been a lot of draws, and then Carolina Ascent is going to want to try to keep that rhythm going against Spokane.
That's going to be tough. Another road game for them going to Spokane. Can they keep that going? If they can stay unbeaten, that could become a very interesting storyline moving forward in these early weeks and months of the USL Super League season. We will be keeping you up to date on that Dallas, Trinity, and Lexington game as our game moves along. 2-0 here in our nation's capital. Great start for Fort Lauderdale. We'll see if DC Power has an answer in the second half. Highlights, stats, and the second half kick are all coming up next. Back here at Audi Field in Washington, D.C., Sean St. Jacques, Casey White, our entire crew. Happy to have you with us at the half between DC Power and Fort Lauderdale United. It's the visitors here from Florida and have a 2-0 lead at the half. Let's take a look back through the first half highlights of this one. And Casey, DC got off to a pretty good start. They had early pressure and they got an early chance at goal as well.
They had great organized shape, being able to find Bachem in the pressing moment right here. Tries to open up with the left foot, helped on really well there. Tries to go around, just not enough bend on that one, not able to get the rebound. They would continue to defend, but then Fort Lauderdale United, against the run of play, earns a set piece. This one's put back post by Knox, and then just put across with pace, and it's Addison McCain for the finish.
Her second goal of the season, and that was a little bit of a blow for DC Power. They had a really good start. This sort of switched the momentum.
It really did, and they had to figure out, okay, how do we get those opportunities in the final third and put them away? Addison McCain just comes up in a big moment, but then the opposite way would happen where Brooks plays it down the line, a little bit different approach in the attack, and then it's Hamid who gets on the end of it and absolutely roofs it to the near post. But it's a really good forward run, powerful from the winger.
Jasmine Hamid's second Super League goal this season. The Alexandria, Virginia native making herself at home yet again here in the DC area. Halftime stats look like this. Shots are even, 4 apiece so far. We expected Fort Lauderdale to edge possession. They did, but the big stat, 2 shots on target, 2 Fort Lauderdale goals.
It's really interesting that they had that edge of possession and the 2 goals because it was more in their defensive half, but they came up in big moments, 2 of them on target of their shots. And for DC Power, no shots on target. That's really the difference because they created opportunities, they just weren't able to convert.
And of course, hitting the post doesn't count as a shot on target.
Exactly.
We should mention that. One more break before we give you the second half between DC and Fort Lauderdale here in our nation's capital. Great start for Fort Lauderdale. We'll see if they can keep it up in the second half. Next on Kickoff. Moments away from the start of the second half. It is DC Power 0, Fort Lauderdale United 2. Sean St. Jacques, Casey White here with you on Peacock. Moments away from this home opener for DC continuing into a second half of play. We do have one substitution to tell you about at the half. It's being made as we speak. Mariah Lee is being brought on. Jennifer Cujo is being taken out for DC Power. So we'll see how that impacts things for Frederic Briand's side in the second half. Trailing by 2. Of course, they've shown throughout the half that they're certainly capable of creating opportunities to get back into the match, Casey.
Absolutely. It definitely doesn't feel like a 2-0 game or a deficit that they're playing right now, but that's not a like-for-like sub as well. Lee usually is a higher player up the field, so will there be a tactical change in the system of play from Briand? I think that's something that'll be really interesting to see as we go into the second half.
For Tyrone Mears' side, 2-0 up, but of course, as they say, the old adage, can't rest your laurels on 2-0.
No, but you can be happy about it.
Yes.
And I think he'll take it, and they've had a lot of possession. So how do they see out this first, 15, 20 minutes and make sure they don't give up anything silly to make it a little bit closer?
And again, one thing we should mention from the first half, there was a goalkeeping change with, of course, Cosette Morse being taken out. McKenna Gottschalk continues in the second half. There were no halftime changes for Fort Lauderdale. That was a first half substitution. Second half is underway from Audi Field in our nation's capital. We'll see if DC can battle back here in the second half in their home opener, USL Super League. DC not wasting any time, trying to create an opportunity right off the bat. Guillou cutting inside. It's a dangerous ball into the penalty area. It's cleared out, and DC putting on the early pressure here. They get a throw in on the near side. It's Amber Diorio resetting the play. Madison Wolfbauer had a chance in that first half as well.
Yeah, and I think we're already seeing a different look. If you take a look, Fredericks right there on the ball. She's playing inverted in midfield. She's dispossessed, but maybe that's something different we're going to see out of DC Power. In the first half, we saw Mernon getting high and wide, building out of a 3-back, but now we're seeing Fredericks, the right back, play more in the central of midfield.
Knox tried to get on that for Fort Lauderdale. It was a good follow-up in the end by Raji. Fight continues, but DC Power do in the end regain possession. We talked earlier this week with Allie Rogers, the associate head coach with Fort Lauderdale. She talked about how sophisticated the game model is that Fort Lauderdale is trying to implement. She even went as far as to say it's going to take months to apply it and get it down to where the coaching staff wants it. So you need ball handlers, more possession in the opponent's half is crucial, and taking opportunities. Well, those last two things have been exactly what Fort Lauderdale United did right in the first half.
They have done everything right from an efficiency perspective. They've had really good moments of possession, and it's just working week after week of building through the thirds. How do you make decisions? Because you don't want to tell a player what to do in every moment. You want to provide options, and then they have to be the decision makers on the field, and that's what's so incredibly hard about game models that especially value possession of the ball.
Rachi again trying to bring that forward. It was well won back, and Fredericks is going to be fouled. It's a free kick for the Power FC. I'm almost reminded of what Katrina Guillou and Frederic Briand told us earlier this week. There's been glimpses. They've continued to improve and get better, and they like where they're at. They just didn't have the finishing touch in the final third.
Well, and that's something that is kind of the last piece to come together, really, is that part. You have to be more concerned if you're not creating chances, and I think that's what his team is doing. They are creating chances. They look really organized defensively. They transition well out of it. It's just those final pieces of execution that can continue to be worked on from all of these teams, to be honest.
Knox Under pressure from Grace Yango. Of course, Jorian Backham also helping out and making life as difficult as possible for Fort Lauderdale, playing out of the back. And DC Power do their job, they regain possession. Nice step in by Knox defensively. Be a chance here again. Fort Lauderdale feel that get maybe one more, and you mentioned that earlier, Casey. They could maybe really start to finish the game off. Guiu and company have other ideas. It's one back. This is the substitute, Mariah Lee. Lee for Yango. Now Duong. Duong, a nice ball down this near side. Kurosaki cutting in field. Plays it square. Fredericks. It's going to be forced back. Wolfbauer for Yango. Nice touch out wide. Backham. It's good build-up play from DC. Backham assesses the options and directs traffic at the same time. First time ball in was deflected. Backham picks up the pieces. Backham's ball essentially is going to be cleared away by Komani. Now maybe a chance for Fort Lauderdale to break up the other end. Gordon was making a good slashing run. McCain's hold-up play is solid. Fort Lauderdale keep the possession on the near side through Jordan.
If I were to add anything to what Fort Lauderdale United could have done in possession a little bit more, was find the feet of Addison McCain a little higher up. She's so incredibly technical. So you saw that in that last moment, being able under pressure to bring that down off her chest, keep possession and keep possession going forward. That's not easy to do. So they can find her a little bit more. They'll even be able to possess higher up the field.
Now Lee gave that a chase down this near side. It is a goal kick. Fort Lauderdale again will be able to try and move things forward in search of a commanding third goal. Felicia Knox was one of the players that Ali Rogers highlighted for us in our talk earlier this week. She's on the ball here. Placed the ball up ahead, able to get it back off a clearance. Time and space for Jordan on the near side. Adrian Jordan, little give and go. Jordan's ball into the middle. It's a chance to cut this back. Decent effort. And the shot goes wide from Shania Gordon.
An incredibly soft touch from Gordon in this moment. It's not an easy ball to take down. It's lifted in the air, it's bouncing. A great first touch to set her up for the left-footed opportunity. Isn't able to bend it wide. You need to put a little curl on that, most likely to sneak it in that back post. But a great preparation touch from the front runner.
Should mention that the other player that Ali Rogers said was one to watch was Shania Gordon, and you just saw why.
Well, that's interesting because they have a 2-0 lead, and those two players haven't been on the ball as much.
Gordon's on the ball here. It could be 3. And she sends it into the seats. 2 opportunities for Gordon to really put a stamp on it.
And in the last moment, she had a great first prep touch. This one got a little bit of away from her. Could have been touched a little bit closer to goal. It goes a little bit wide and has to strike it for power. It's still a good opportunity, but you kind of want to cut that touch in. But we were talking about the partnership of Knox and Gordon not getting on the ball as much in the first half, not because they weren't playing well, but because Power was pressing. Now they're starting to connect, and that's going to be very dangerous.
Referee's whistle stops the play. It's a Fort Lauderdale free kick, and it's going to be a Fort Lauderdale substitution. Taylor Smith is getting set to come on. Nele Komani is going to make way. Komani gets high fives all around from her teammates on the bench after a job well done. It's Fort Lauderdale's second change of the night. Is fluttered up ahead, bit awkward here. But Fredericks, oh, it's given away. Should be a chance here for Fort Lauderdale. Oh, huge block on the recovery. How important was that from Madison Wolfbauer to make sure that off the takeaway, a chance didn't occur.
And that's great pressing, regains right here. Hamid just going forward, intercepting the pass, looks to play it to Gordon across, can't quite find her, and it's Smith, but a great block, as you mentioned, coming across, committing everything to it was Wolfbauer, and she needed to in that moment.
It was nearly the perfect introduction from Taylor Smith, but Wolfbauer keeps DC power in it. And it'll be a corner for Felicia Knox to take. Lauderdale's first ever signing in the club's history. Plays a wonderful ball in! And at the back post, Celia Gaynor nearly finished it off.
And these are those moments that you hope don't come back to bite you as the half goes on, because this would surely put the game away. What a strike. Not well read there in goal from Aquino, and then that ball across Gaynor goes with the leg. You almost just have to run through it instead of trying to get a touch on it.
A wonderful service from Knox. She gets right back onto it here. Another good ball played across, and Wolfbauer again is there to get a big touch on it from a defensive standpoint for DC Power. You talked about, Casey, how Fort Lauderdale had to handle the first 10 to 15 minutes, and they've looked the more likely to score in that time frame.
Well, we certainly weren't in the locker room to hear exactly what the coaching staff said, but it looks like they said, you need to be more dangerous with your possession. We can possess, but let's also get it out of our half a little bit and put more pressure up top.
Here is Gordon. Gordon tried to squeeze that past two defenders, and Fort Lauderdale keep the pressure on. It's another throw-in on the near side. Updated look at the final third entries, and there are more and more coming here for Fort Lauderdale. Gordon's ball in is a searching one. Hamid just not quite able to head it back centrally. Another ball placed. It's going to go out of play for a goal kick. Every Wednesday, listen to the USL Super League Game Week, a deep dive into all things Super League with host Marion Crowder and Anna Whitty. Follow along all season on the Sirius XM app. Now DC Power coming in the other way, looking for a bit of a burst. US time and space, well, didn't have it for very long. It's touched all the way back, and Fort Lauderdale reset with Gottschalk. Nice step defensively. Bockham is able to get there after the work from Murnin. The ball through there was cut out, trying to find Guiu, who made a good run into the penalty area. Fort Lauderdale deals with it. Murnin again, but there was a foul before she got onto it.
And you're starting to see from Fort Lauderdale United that they're okay with playing that longer ball in the wide channel. DC Power, and the way that they're pressing, they're forcing it down the line. That's where they want to win it. That's their pressure pocket to win possession. So Fort Lauderdale United now skipping that line a little bit and trying to play out, and it's been really effective, although it's opened up the game a lot so far in this second half.
Looked like that was Katie Duong who put the last challenge in. She does have to be a little careful. She's the only player right now on a yellow card. That's worth keeping in mind. More pressure from Fort Lauderdale. It leads to another awkward moment. And again, Aquino is there. Guiu. DC recycle the play. Again, both goals came in the first half. McCain and Hamid, both their second goals of this Super League campaign. Time and space for Guillou on this near side for DC Power. Guillou with a lovely reverse ball. Chance for the shot, it was deflected. Oh, it almost fell for Bachem as well. She couldn't quite square it up. Guillou on the volley. In the end, it's held by McKenna Gottschalk.
And it's better from Fort Lauderdale United in retreating back. Addison McCain had to come to clear it. Bachem trying to get something here. Right there, McCain's trying to clear it out. And this is very nice from Guillou right there. Just doesn't get enough power on it, but they are starting to put pressure on the back line of Fort Lauderdale.
We approach the hour mark in this DC home opener. Looks like there'll be a stoppage here. 2 substitutions for DC Power. Jorian Bachem is going to leave us along with Yuka Hirosaki. We'll see Charlie Escourt and Loza Abera both coming on. Frederic Brion's group still in need of 2 goals. I think it's fair to say there was great moments from both of the departing players, maybe just in need of a fresh mix-up here.
Yeah, it was a good partnership between both of them. Both have moments of sophistication, both can press, both can run and generate opportunities. Sometimes on given nights, you just need a different look because they're not being able to break through this Fort Lauderdale back line, and that's something that maybe Brion's just trying to work with and see what's going to work and be able to pull them apart.
We do have an update from the other USL Super League game going on right now. Just went to the half. Lone Star State, great recovery from Dallas. They were 1-0 down against Lexington. They're 2-1 up at the half as this is a looping ball into the penalty area. It's well held by Gottschalk. DC will be hoping to do something similar to what Dallas just did. 2 goals without reply. It's headed up ahead by Murnin. That was a brief opportunity for Abera. Chance isn't gone yet. Good battle with Guillou stepping in. And Duong trying to keep it alive. Guillou again on this near side. Escourt. Layoff from Abera. And it's good build-up play here. Guillou plays it centrally. It was touched away. Could still fall for an opportunity. And the shot in the end from Fredericks is well held by Gottschalk.
And Frederick stepping up in that moment just keeps Fort Lauderdale United locked in. That's why there's first, second, third chance opportunities. It was good build-up play right here. Guillou does well just to keep this in play, get it into a dangerous area. You force mistakes when that happens, and there was a bit of a misclearance. Just there's not enough power on those final finishes, but the organization and the pressure from DC Power is giving them opportunities.
If you were with us at the half, DC Power had no shots on target in the first 45 minutes. That has changed, but now they have to get the goals to get back in it in their home opener tonight.
Well, it's so interesting because for the first 15 minutes or so, Fort Lauderdale United played a more open game, and they looked like they were going to be pushing for their 3rd goal rather than giving up a goal, and they haven't done that yet. But what that's done is there's risk and reward. It's opened up the game a little bit more. It's not as much of a chess match as what we saw in the first half, where DC Power was sat in a middle 3rd block. But it's kind of exciting because now there's more spaces to get into to be able to try to get back in this game for the Power.
Of course, if Fort Lauderdale can see this out, it'll be their first win as a club. Abera just trying to make some space appear down this far side. It's really well defended, and it will go Fort Lauderdale's way for a challenge at the very end of it, I think, on Brooks, who's a bit slow to get up. The inaugural USL Super League season has officially begun. Visit USLSuperLeague.com for all the latest information, analysis, and insight into all things Super League. Looks like Brooks is okay. She sends that ahead. The University of Texas at Austin product. Coming down on 25 minutes plus stoppage time to play. Yango. Nice ball down this near side. Fort Lauderdale again. Pushing ahead, early ball into the penalty area. Is touched, not quite clear yet, but almost. Smith follows up. Was she tripped up? Yes. Referee comes in. It's a free kick for the visitors.
And again, Fort Lauderdale United just picking really good moments to transition to the attack to keep DC Power locked in. So I think there's been a really good game management piece of this half of just figuring out when do they have to be patient, when should they push the pace, and really make DC defend as well.
Felicia Knox is going to stand over this for Fort Lauderdale. No surprise there. And Fort Lauderdale United slammed the door shut with a third goal.
Aquino needs to be careful of that near post area as well.
Knox fizzes one in there. It bounced around. Faint handball appeals come in. It's cleared away, but again, not definitively. It's feathered back into the penalty area. It's headed away by Mernon. Fort Lauderdale can replenish the possession. And that's not a foul. It's going to be a throw-in for DC Power after the Guiu intervention. Before DC are able to take that throw, it is going to be a substitution for Fort Lauderdale. Shania Gordon is going to come out, and we will see Reese Klein help to try to finish the job off for Fort Lauderdale tonight.
I think it makes sense. Gordon is an electric front runner. She can create a lot going forward, but as you creep more into the end of this second half, you need a more defensive sub. That's what Klein is coming into the game. So you kind of can look at it both ways. Do you sit back a little bit more? Do you go forward so you don't allow DC Power to get forward? But I think we're seeing a management decision right here from the Fort Lauderdale staff.
This could be a chance for DC in behind. Goalkeeper got a touch onto it, and then Abera on the follow-up was blocked. Knox still has to try to clear this for Fort Lauderdale. Heavy pressure from DC Power. It's one of their better moments of the half. And Loza Abera thwarted not once, but twice.
How about that composure from Felicia Knox, though, by the way? It was almost a goal, but Felicia Knox just dribbled out of her own penalty area with 3 to 4 players of the DC Power around her. That's something the staff talked about, just how comfortable she is on the ball. We saw it there in a pretty critical moment.
Important defensive intervention for Fort Lauderdale. DC looked to build towards another chance. We all know one goal can change it. Can DC find that goal? Interplay through the middle. It's going to be cut out on this near side. Mernon on the backtrack here. He's going to pass it back to Aquino. Ball is curled up ahead. And Fort Lauderdale are on the case. They do send it upfield. In the midfield continues, but it's Hamid resetting the possession. Good step in by Mernon, but Fort Lauderdale have a chance here to get on the end of it. Knox cannot quite keep it in. Some of the Fort Lauderdale stars who were quieter in the first half are starting to shine for Tyrone Mears and company in the second half, and that's proved to be a big difference, even though the scoreline hasn't changed yet in the second half.
Yes, they definitely need to be on the ball to see out the game, though. You want your composed technical players to be on it.
DC are on the ball up the other end. There's a chance for Lee to find a cross. She finds a throw-in instead. Let's see if some of the substitutes can change the trajectory of this one for DC Power. From the throw, and that's just going to leak out of play. And it's a goal kick. Just went over the end line for a pretty good ball into the middle, looking for Escort.
When you mentioned Felicia Knox getting on the ball more, another one's Addison McCain, there's different rotations that we're seeing, but also the way that the Power is playing. They're trying to overload in midfield, create a 4 against 3. So Addison McCain's kind of drifting into the wide area to get on the ball. Felicia Knox is rotating out because that's the space that the Power are leaving for them to get on. And because they're pushing forward, there's more opportunity to get those players on the ball facing forward.
Stay up to date with the USL Super League. Sign up for the Super newsletter. Get news about your favorite team and stories from around the league delivered directly to your inbox weekly. Sign up at uslsuperleague.com/newsletter. Ticking down on 20 minutes to go. Fort Lauderdale potentially on the cusp of some history tonight in the nation's capital, but DC have time to change the narrative. Lovely ball played through, Yango. Yango keeps on going, absorbs the pressure on the challenge, and she gets tripped up. It's a free kick. Grace Yango, not to be denied, wins a set-piece opportunity.
And Sean, this was a tough challenge. Yango just keeps going. It was a very solid tackle. She pops up right away, and this is going to be from a dangerous area, but this is a good ball to break lines, looking to take on. There's so many players around. A tough tackle, keeps it up, gets a little bit of a half yard of chance, and then Jordan comes back and didn't win the ball the first time, tries again, and gives up the set piece.
And you mentioned just before that, this is in a very good position for DC Power. Multiple options here, and Fort Lauderdale will have 5 players, it looks like, in their wall. Grace Yango looks poised to take it. It is Yango! Parried away, follow-up by Abera is wide of the target. Huge stop by McKenna Gottschalk.
And this was a great look, going right over Guiu in the wall. It just curves in a little bit too much and gives Gottschalk a chance, but she's trying to pick out that far post area, and it's a good save. And right there, credit to Gottschalk for reacting after her save to put enough pressure that it wasn't put in.
More DC Power pressure after that last sequence. Duong will recycle the play for Mernon. Could this be a chance here for DC Power to switch the momentum and try to mount a comeback chance here?
And one of the things Fort Lauderdale United's going to have to think about is no silly fouls like that. It didn't really make sense to foul in that moment because there were probably 5 players minimum behind the ball, so they don't want to give those opportunities.
Decent turn, and the shot goes over the top. Loza Abera continuing to make her mark as the minutes pass by for DC. Sometimes even a near miss could be a momentum shifter in a game, and DC have started to create more and more as the second half moves along. That's going to be a Fort Lauderdale United throw on the near side, just in between the two coaches. By Jordan. One back, in the end by Escort. Lovely reverse ball by Abera, but in the end it's cut out by Brooks. And now Fort Lauderdale have a chance to move this ahead. McCain, the goal scorer, to Hamid, who scored the other. Hamid fighting to keep possession. She does keep the ball. And Jordan is able to replenish things. And in the end, maybe a little bit of miscommunication. Hamid not ready for it. DC Power again reset. McCain scored in the 9th minute off a Brooks assist. Hamid 30 minutes later in the 39th. McCain gets back onto it, sends the ball up ahead down this far side. Wolfbauer will shielded out of play. The crowd here at Audi Field getting more and more into it, trying to push their team on. That's a great step defensively from Fort Lauderdale, and it could lead to a break up the other end here. This is Jordan. There's just too many blue shirts ahead of her in the end.
And those are moments where it's great to go forward in transition, but with this state of the game, maybe turn around, just connect a few passes, keep the ball, get numbers forward, because you kind of want to take the air out of the game when you have that 2-0 lead. Don't give DC Power possession again, because now they get to reset and get numbers up.
That was played towards Escort. Didn't quite get to her, and again, Fort Lauderdale have done a really good job cutting out some of those passes, timely challenges. And Jordan now needs a moment. And a little bit of discomfort for Fort Lauderdale United. She gives the thumbs up. Ball's back in play. Mernon. Is it back centrally? Diorio. 15 minutes plus stoppage time left in DC. Fredericks. That's going to be a foul. Again against Mariah Lee, who's a bit perplexed, but it is going to go Fort Lauderdale's way. Sent ahead by Brooks. If there is going to be another goal, it could really help to dictate how this game plays out. Yango is brought down. It's a DC free kick.
And it doesn't play into Fort Lauderdale's favor to get involved in the scrappiness of the game. They've got to show a calm, cool head in these last 15 minutes.
Fredericks up ahead. Lee trying to find space for a cross. In the end, does pretty well, wins a corner. Another set piece opportunity for DC Power. Can set pieces be the avenue back? This one for DC Power. They've come close already on a couple set piece opportunities tonight. From the corner. Wolfbauer got a boot onto it. And it's going to bounce out of play.
And unfortunately, that service just wasn't really the trajectory I think that they wanted. It needs to be more in the area, in the 6-yard box where there's a lot of players, especially as the clock winds down. You just want to put it into a dangerous area, make players uncomfortable, and see what you can get out of it.
Escort comes out with that for DC Power as the battle in the midfield continues. Fort Lauderdale pressing a bit more. Mernon is able to find Diorio for a reset. Other side Escort. She has time and space to work with here for DC. To this near side, Guiu cutting in field. Escort lays it off. Duong, Escort, oh, it's a missed kick, a chance to get on the end of this for the goalkeeper, Gottschalk. She'll use up some time before being forced to pick the ball up.
Really good combination play in that final third. I like the composure of DC Power trying to play, but you can just see how compact it is defensively. Although they're causing issues, there's just always cover in that area. So maybe a shot from distance just to pull someone out from the back line.
Mernon's effort has been excellent tonight. She wins the ball back yet again. Susanna Fredericks. Out to the far side. Decent ball in field, but there's again too many white shirts around it. Yango continues to fight for it. It's wonderful effort. No whistle. Play's allowed to continue on. And then a whistle's going to go the other way. It's a free kick for Fort Lauderdale. After I must say, it was just wonderful effort from Grace Yango just to try to keep that play alive.
Such feisty defending in that moment. I'm actually a little bit surprised it went the opposite direction. I thought that initial foul would be called.
Looks like DC are going to make a change here. Anna Bagley is going to come on, and Katrina Guiu will exit after a strong shift herself. She talked to us about how excited the players were for this occasion. Hasn't gone their way, but it hasn't been from a lack of performance. The players have given so much. It's just been the clinical finishing from Fort Lauderdale that's really been the difference so far. There's still 10 minutes to play.
I think Guiu was a big part of it. I like what we saw from her in that wide space off the left, but I think you're right. Soccer can be unforgiving. I think there's been a lot of really good elements to the DC Power team, although Fort Lauderdale has figured out how to have the separation. But it's not like the Power has had a bad performance in this home opener.
McCain's goal, Hamid's goal. Will it be enough for Fort Lauderdale's first ever win in the USL Super League? Goals coming 30 minutes apart in the first half of play. 10 minutes plus stoppage time to go in the second half. And that's going to be a free kick. This time, Wolfbauer not pleased. But Fort Lauderdale will get a set piece opportunity. You guessed it, Felicia Knox is going to be at the heart of this set piece. She's provided brilliant service all night. Knox again, Hamid! Just wide. Another chance for Fort Lauderdale to finish the job.
The service from Knox is so good. The pace of the pass, the height of the pass, everything's perfect. It's in the direction where the goalkeeper does not want to come out, but it's right in behind the back line. That is an art that a player can have and develop, and Felicia Knox certainly has it.
Knox and Gordon came into the night tied with 4 chances created each. They've been adding on to those tallies, that's for sure. Now can DC respond up the other end? Lee's gonna get on the end of this. Cross into the middle was dangerous. Knox helps out, but it's still a chance here. Oh, what a save by Gottschalk to deny Abera. Loza Abera is thwarted for a 3rd time, and Gottschalk, who didn't start the game in goal, makes another great stop.
It shows the depth at this position for them, but right there, Abera gets on it, plays his ball across for the shot, and what a save in that moment.
Gottschalk came on in the first half for Cosette Morsch and has answered every question asked of her. Another turning shot. Gottschalk is there to thwart Abera again.
And not that Fort Lauderdale United wanted to find out how their depth was at the goalkeeping position, but this is nice if you're the staff that you get another performance from your keeper who's come in the middle of a game. That confidence is built. That just aids in your training environment. You know you have that. And she develops that partnership with the back line as well, which bodes well for the future.
Again, more signs of great DC power play, but still in search of that goal that could help them get back into it in these latter stages. 7 minutes now plus stoppage time remaining.
I think if you look at that save in isolation, you're like, this is a great save. But the time of the game, it's a critical save, because if that goes in, these last minutes for Fort Lauderdale United is crazy, and they're going to have to figure out how to defend. So that's an even more critical save than most people would see.
McCain does well again to hold up the play, keeps it away from Lee. Another ball fluttered up ahead. Ooh, there was a foul there. I was wondering if there was a coming together. Referee sees the infraction and brings it back for a Fort Lauderdale free kick.
I like the action from Duong there to go get a ball because their own keeper just hit it away. When they're down, you don't want to waste any of that time. So just a moment of frustration, but I love the heads-up play from the midfielder.
And time is of the essence. DC Power at the moment. Still 2-1 Dallas, by the way, in the Lexington game going on as well. Also on Peacock. Knox. Great first-time ball by McCain. Is that a chance in the middle? Possible penalty. Referee points at the ball, not the penalty spot. It ends up being a Fort Lauderdale United corner, and McCain is asking the question.
And I'm not sure about this. It's not the best service from Knox, the first one we've seen, but Addison McCain does really well. She looks like she has position there, and I don't know, between two players, did they catch her left leg on that side? Very fortunate to not get a penalty kick called in that moment. And then we see the save after as well as play went on. It was a critical save.
It could be a frantic finish regardless of how this plays out. Fort Lauderdale have a set piece here. Again, they have a chance to slam the door shut. Good feed from the corner. And another chance at close range. Goes wide of the target.
And as I'm thinking more about the service of Felicia Knox, even that last one, it looks like it might have been a little bit planned to play it into Addison McCain, or she just made Felicia Knox look really good and really smart, but great little play there to get the corner kick as well.
That ball's played up ahead. It's going to be a Fort Lauderdale United throw. Cameron Brooks, I don't think will be in too much of a hurry to take it.
Definitely not.
Again, it's already been a historic night. The USL Super League, DC Power's first home game, their home opener. It's been a wonderful occasion. It's been a wonderful crowd here at Audi Field as well. That also must be mentioned, but we're getting closer and closer to Fort Lauderdale United history. A chance to not only pick up their first win, they began the day in 8th in the table. They could jump up a few spots in the table as well with the victory if they can close it out.
Well, obviously the 3 points are what take precedence. That's most important. But if you can get a shutout on the road, there's a lot of really positive things to come out of this performance. So certainly want to secure the 3 points first, but even as this goes on, be stingy defensively.
It would be their first ever clean sheet as well if they could get it. Yango wins a corner for DC Power. 3 minutes plus stoppage time left. Duong to take it. DC Power almost have to score from this. It's getting towards that point in the game. Oh, it's played back across. Another huge block on the doorstep. Yango tries to follow up. Another attempt is blocked, and we'll go right back to where we started, a frantic sequence.
Well, we talked about Klein coming in the game to provide a defensive presence when she came in for Gordon, and she certainly does that right here, keeping it alive as Lee. And look at Klein, just putting her body on the line to block that. And again, Smith as well, 2 blocks to ensure nothing goes on frame.
And Duong will get another opportunity to put this into the penalty area. Take 2. She goes right back to the same area, and it's flicked along. DC Power recycle the play. Mernon sends it right back in. Escort follows up, cleared away by Hamid. Play's allowed to continue. Fort Lauderdale in possession. DC Power just about get that back. Switch of play by Bagley. Duong down the far side. It's going to happen for DC. It has to happen in very quick time.
And they've put Wolfbauer up top as well, just trying to create something else going forward, put more pressure on the back line.
A good little move there from Abera on the reverse ball. It's forced a clearance out for a throw. is there to be? A little bit of dose of late drama here. DC have to get the first goal first for that to happen. Fredericks to take. Goes over the head of Wolfbauer. Fort Lauderdale will clear it only as far as another throw further back. And now to the 90th minute. Was sent to the penalty area, again looking for Wolfbauer. Not the best clearance there. Escort tried to keep it going. Again, it's still up for grabs here. Can DC create something? Was that a challenge inside the penalty area? A few feint appeals for a penalty. It's not been given. DC keeps possession.
And definitely Wolfbauer trying to use her body in that moment, looking to create that opportunity to draw the foul. So it would have to have been very clear to call that.
Diorio. Fredericks. Wolfbauer's hold up play. Yango. Lee trying to move it forward. Ooh, and the whistle is going to stop the play here. A yellow card has been brandished, and Wolfbauer is the one to receive it. And now we dive into 2 added minutes at the end. You could see the passion from Madison Wolfbauer, trying to help the cause for DC, but in the end, gives Fort Lauderdale an avenue to finishing this off.
And Wolfbauer probably a little bit of frustration, didn't get that penalty kick call, some appeals for that, just that foul happening away from the ball, but a lot of fight in this DC Power team just trying to get back into it.
Hold up play here, Hamid. Fort Lauderdale nearly have it over the line. Near side Jordan, lovely give and go between Jordan and Smith. Jordan will take it into the corner. It is a throw-in for Fort Lauderdale as we're getting down to the final seconds. Referee tells the visitors to get on with it. Jordan looking for someone to throw it into. It's in this near side corner. Jordan's header gives it back to DC Power, but they don't have a ton of time left to work with. So many huge moments, but some of those last-ditch Fort Lauderdale tackles, blocks, they've come up huge down the stretch here.
That's the difference at this level. You have to come up big in those moments. You have to commit everything defensively because there's so much quality in both teams.
Wolfbauer wins another throw. Another good ball into the penalty area. Oh, that was a chance for Bagley. She wasn't quite able to square it up. Bagley's hustle leads to another bit of possession here. This could be the last chance. Mernon. Duong. Bagley. Bagley into the penalty area. Could be a chance! And Wolfbauer sends it out of play off the turn.
And DC Power just continues to look to go forward. This ball breaks lines into the penalty box with purpose, but it's deflected right to Wolfbauer. Almost an opportunity for the center back who's pushed forward to get one goal.
It'll be a goal kick for Fort Lauderdale United. Gottschalk sends it ahead. We've had the 2 added minutes here in DC. And that's it, full time in the nation's capital. It's Fort Lauderdale United's night in DC. They win their first game in club history. Goals from McCain and Hamid, enough for a vital 3 points. And it's the 3rd time being the charm. Fort Lauderdale win their first ever USL Super League match by 2-0.
This game had a little bit of everything. Performances from both sides, really good moments from both sides, but it's Fort Lauderdale United who was really efficient in the first half, withstood the high pressure of DC Power early on and just built more into the game. And then you just see the effort at the end to see out, not only see out the result, but to get the shutout. It was like a message that we're going to be hard to score on as well.
the way that Fort Lauderdale possessed the ball in the first half was such a huge part of how the game played out. What was even more impressive, I think, and I'm curious your thoughts as well, Casey, is how well they played with a lead in the second half.
Yeah, I think that they managed the second half very well. They knew they had to match the intensity of the first 15 minutes of the second half, so therefore they played a little more direct, but with purpose. And I think that put DC Power on the defensive, and it was a little bit of a shock early on. Then they were able to settle in, play a little bit more of an organized defending shape. But I agree, I thought overall for 90 minutes, this was a well-managed game.
It does feel like progress for DC Power, but they'll be gutted losing their first home game.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of huge positives. Their mid-block defending was really good, but the transition to the attack, the efficiency in the final third, and those transition moments defensively that they gave up for the goals are things that they're just going to have to tidy up. But it's a great beginning of the season starting point for DC Power. I know it doesn't sound like a lot because they're not able to get their 3 points out of it, but that can bode well for the future.
It leaves DC Power on 2 points at the moment. They were 4th place in the Super League coming into the night. Fort Lauderdale, who were on 1 point, quickly jump up to 4 points. And again, pending other results in the weekend, that can allow them to really pole vault up the table as the weekend moves along. Really is an amazing night in the end here for Fort Lauderdale United, and we are joined by one of the Fort Lauderdale United goal scorers. Addie McCain is with us. Addie, congratulations on the victory. Thank you for taking time with us. What does it mean to be a part of Fort Lauderdale United's first ever win as a club?
It means a lot, honestly. We felt it building. You know, we feel like the last 2 games we actually put out decent performances and didn't get the results that we wanted. So I think for us to put 2 goals in the back of the net and then defend the way that we did today was honestly an all-around team thing, team win, and we feel like that's what we're going to be about this year.
And Addie, you guys really changed up the way you attacked in the second half, breaking lines a little bit more, playing a little more aggressive. What did you like about your team's performance on the attacking side?
To be honest, I think the first half is more of who we want to be. We want to pass, we want to break lines, and then when you're up 2-0 at someone else's house, you kind of just gotta defend, and you gotta do the gritty things. And even if that means being a little more direct, at least it's not in our half. And so I think we saw that a little more. But like I said, credit to our defenders. They defended so well tonight, and our goalkeeper having to step in a big moment. And they've both been battling. They're both amazing, and I think it shows tonight just how she stepped in and led the back line like she did. So all around team win.
Addie, thanks so much for taking some time with us. Congratulations on the victory. Absolutely. And enjoy it.
For sure, thank you.
Wonderful night for Addie McCain and Fort Lauderdale United. 2-0 winners here in DC to pick up the club's first ever win here in the USL Super League. Wonderful night as well. Multiple firsts in the USL Super League, and that's what big nights like tonight are all about. McCain and Hamid lead the way, and we will take a time here to get a break, and then we will wrap it all up with highlights and stats from our nation's capital after this. Sean St. Jacques, Casey White back here to wrap things up at Audi Field in Washington, D.C. What a night for Fort Lauderdale United in the USL Super League. They pick up their first ever win as a club. They beat DC Power in their home opener by 2-0. Let's look back at how this all played out tonight in the first ever meeting between these two clubs. And Casey, in the 7th minute, it was DC on the attack.
Everything for the DC Power came from their attacking transition. This one from Jorian Bockham, a lot of effort out of possession, getting the ball, getting forward, goes off the post, a really good first opportunity. But then going the opposite way, kind of against the run of play, was this set piece. Knox serves it in to the back post area. Brooks bangs it across, and it's Addie McCain with the finish.
Her finish was her second goal in the USL Super League this season. Off her knee, it looked like, in the back of the net to make it 1-0. 30 minutes later, it would be a second goal. Hamid to make it 2-0.
With all the pressure that DC Power was putting forward, they go a little more direct in this moment, and it's Jasmine Hamid that's able to get in behind off the deflection, beats Fredericks, goes to the near post, goes kind of against the run of where you think she's going to play the ball, but that would give it a 2-0 lead. DC Power would put a lot of pressure on in the second half, just trying to create anything they can, being disruptive and trying to get stuff on frame.
One of the big things that ended up happening in this game was Fort Lauderdale had to make a goalkeeping change. McKenna Gottschalk came on in the first half. She played a huge role in the second half.
She really did. She stepped up big time in some big moments as DC Power would continue to go forward. Yango doing everything she can to find a little bit of space. Not able to, but it sets up this set piece, and it's Gottschalk that comes up very big in this moment on this curving free kick.
That was one of her many vital saves tonight to keep it at 2-0 for Fort Lauderdale, not to give DC Power an avenue back into the game. Those saves and other key blocks were critical along the way. Full-time match stats look like this. A lot more attacks from DC Power in the second half. That's the way Fort Lauderdale defended their lead that was the difference in the end.
That's really impressive because they had 58% possession after the first half. Then it ends up 50-50. The increase in shots from DC Power and getting only 4 of them on frame, that's something that they would want to look to improve. But the defending effort of Fort Lauderdale United was just a joy to watch as the half went on.
Not just the first win, but the first clean sheet for Fort Lauderdale United. And I think Tyrone Mears will be just as happy about that as opposed to the 3 points as well on top of that. It ends up being a wonderful night for DC Power as well. They make history as well with their first ever home game, but it's Fort Lauderdale United who are the ones happier at the end. A 2-0 victory, goals courtesy of McCain and Hamid along the way. They pick up their first 3 points of the season, up to 4 overall. For Casey White and our entire crew, I'm Sean St. Jacques. We say so long from DC. Fort Lauderdale United pick up their first ever USL Super League win.